Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 70. That's 70 of Halfway Through the Heat. It's the world's first and foremost, it's the world's longest lived and longest reigning Trans-Pacific Wrestling podcast, coming to you from the Eastern Time Zone in the United States of America. I'm Tom. Joining me from Greater Tokyo in Japan is Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
I am all right.
I was about to say the Republic of Japan, but then I remembered that Japan is an emperor, and so it's not a republic. I don't actually know. Is it just like the Commonwealth, the nation of Japan? I don't honestly know the answer.
I don't either. Probably nation.
Probably nation. Other than geopolitics, what we're going to talk about tonight, we've got some exciting recaps of big stuff that's happened in WWE with their blockbuster end of the year show, Road Line, End of the Block. We are going to talk a little bit about House of Hardcore, Tommy Dreamer's promotion. We're going to talk about some big plans across the pond at Old Blighty that the WWE has. We're going to get into some hot takes, some hot Twitter takes. We're going to talk about a women's wrestler, a woman who wrestles, recently signed by WWE, a new name. We're going to talk about maybe some trouble for a big name of a different woman in WWE. And we're going to talk about maybe some trouble for a popular independent wrestler. It's parting ways with a prominent wrestling company. But before we get into that, we're going to do what we always do. We are going to be an island of yes and a sea of no. We're going to put on a happy face. We're going to let our smiles be our umbrellas. And we're going to say something positive about Raw. Joe, did you watch this week's Raw?
I did.
Is, is it possible to extract something positive from it?
Maybe. um, I liked the concept of Enzo in sensitivity training. Um,
Yes. The
the
concept.
the concept, not the execution, was not so great, but the concept was good. Um, maybe maybe that's it though. There was some alright stuff, I guess. The this was like the Braun Strowman breaks everything show.
Yes.
Like, also, is Judy Bagwell on a pole match far behind after we have a Chris Jericho on a pole match?
Yeah, that's right. Coming up for Royal Rumble, Chris Jericho is going to be suspended in a shark cage above the ring while Kevin Owens wrestles Roman Reigns.
And also, um, the Chris Jericho in a cage thing is like, well, we got this cage from this thing we did in NXT like a week ago. Let's use that again.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing that they like tried it out on NXT and then it pops up in Raw.
Yeah, like it happened in NXT, and then just like a couple weeks later, suddenly Chris Jericho is in the cage instead of Paul Ellering.
Right. Right. Uh, I think for me, the positive thing is that they announced on Raw that T-shirts were half off in the WWE shop if you use the promo code CHEER. So I was able to buy this Wyatt family shirt that I had my eye on, and I got it for $12.50 instead of $25. That was the
Um,
positive about Raw.
well, that's positive. It's
Yeah, 50% off is no joke. That's a real sale.
it's positive that you could find a shirt that wasn't so horrifying that you couldn't wear it that you could wear it outside without having to put another shirt on top.
It's true. It's like the one of the only ones because it doesn't look like a wrestling shirt at all. It looks like a horror movie T-shirt, like a folk horror movie T-shirt. It's the one with like the creepy scarecrow. Um, and also the Shinsuke Nakamura Christmas ornament was on sale for $3.99. So
I,
that was pretty positive for me.
I assume you bought that because it was $3.99.
I did buy it because of $3.99. That's correct. So that was positive for me from Raw that I got a sweet deal on a Wyatt family shirt and a sweet deal on a Nakamura Christmas ornament.
Is the real question though, is the Nakamura Christmas instrument, the the Christmas thing going to show up before Christmas?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I just chose standard shipping.
That means no, you're not going to have your Nakamura for Christmas.
That's all right though. You know what? I'm Catholic, and Christmas lasts 12 days for us. It's gonna be Christmas until January 6th.
Oh, well, have fun with that then.
Woo!
Can be a very Nakamura Christmas after all.
Um, but yeah, I uh, I think it was one of the worst Raws I've seen in a while. There was very little wrestling. There were a lot of skits and a lot of talking.
Yeah, there were a lot of
And
setups for things like that might happen, but um, some of those things that might happen were stupid. And
that's
like Chris Jericho in a pole match. Um, but also, then it was just like, okay, we see Sasha is going to be feuding with Nia Jax, and then, as everybody predicted, Bayley versus Charlotte, and some other stuff, I guess. Um, Tag match with like 20 tag teams, something. Braun Strowman smash smash. I guess that was the episode.
I the thing about the I was disappointed by the sensitivity training because it could have been good, especially with Bob Backlund there.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been much better, but also they could have. Um, I was saying to you that it would have been better if they had notoriously notoriously angry wrestlers in there, like the Iron Sheik was in there, telling people he would break their back and make them humble.
That would have been awesome. Or Hardcore Holly, the famous alleged locker room problem. Like if they brought him back for the sensitivity training angle, that would have been really good.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people that they could have added to that would have been that have made it really funny. Um, Instead of like people we're not using on TV, so we might as well throw them in there. That kind of thing.
I think also one thing it was nice to see people saying this, so we're not alone in this. At this point, like Rusev is blatantly the good guy.
Oh yeah, I finally like somebody else has said that. I saw that there was an article on like Cage Side Seats saying that why is Rusev a bad guy? Like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like he's even been like tweeting stuff about how you shouldn't call women names, unlike Enzo. I mean, like he's like it's just that it's this bizarre like this is real good insight into Vince's insane sort of beliefs. That like for Vince, like Enzo is clearly the good guy in all this, and like Rusev is the villain because he's like a not conventionally attractive person with a hot wife, and he's a foreigner. And so for Vince, those two things automatically make you, no matter what, they automatically make you a villain. And whereas Enzo exhibits behavior that would get him arrested in real life, he's somehow the good guy. Although he gets his ass kicked every show.
That's true. And this time he got beat up by Jinder Mahal. So
He did. He did. But how much better would it have been if it was Hardcore Holly?
yeah, see, it would have been much better if it were Hardcore Holly and the Iron Sheik.
Um, that was. I don't think there was anything else in particular about Raw other than Mick Foley's questionable sartorial choices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was rocking like a mid-length leather coat and sweatpants and like he looked like a homeless fascist.
Basically, homeless fascist. I said he looked like a disgraced member of the Church of Satan.
Yeah, yeah. Either or, one of those things. Like he went down to wardrobe in WWE and was like, hobos, and they were like, yeah, of course. What if there was a hobo who was also Mussolini? And they're like, say no more, got you covered.
That's probably a very apt description. If you hadn't seen it and you heard that, you'd probably have an image in your head of exactly what he looked like. Awful. Um, I will give them this. Oh, I guess we'll talk about that later. I was gonna say, oh yeah, we'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
during the
That's
road line end of the block stuff.
that's as good a segue as any to get into our news section, where we should talk about this. Of course, broke right after we did last week's episode because it's what always happens. But as you probably know by now, WWE made a big announcement that they are getting into British wrestling in a big way. Um, Triple H was over in jolly old England last week, where he talked about how they are planning to do 30 events in the UK per year. They're going to kick off in January with a tournament to crown the WWE's first ever UK champion, and it's going to be a 2-night tournament with some of the hottest names in British wrestling right now, and Irish wrestling as well, because even though it's the UK tournament, they have Irish guys there. And then, according to ESPN, where Triple H did an interview, the WWE's plan is to have a weekly British show, presumably on the network, although maybe it would be on television in the UK. And
That would make sense. You know, like thinking about this, you know how TNA has lost their UK TV deal? Do you think like it might have something to do with WWE, like making a UK TV show, a weekly UK wrestling TV show? Like they have totally kicked TNA out of their TV deal by putting up their own stuff.
that could be. Um, and commentary is going to be handled by Michael Cole, along with William Regal and Nigel McGuinness. I'm actually really looking forward to this. William Regal is great on commentary, and so is Nigel McGuinness. And Michael Cole is good when Vince leaves him alone. So this could be really good stuff. Um, we've been talking about British wrestling here on Halfway Through the Heat for a while, and we've been saying for a while that we're in the midst of a British wrestling renaissance.
It's British wrestling mania up in here. There's been a lot of British wrestling stuff going on, and big promotions, and British people love wrestling, so it's working out. Lots of stuff going on with the British.
They do. They're not the only. WWE is not the only company getting into the dipping its toe into the weekly British wrestling program business. ITV, which is a British network, a long-established British network, is has shot a pilot to bring back a show called World of Sport, which was like the wrestling show in Britain for decades. And Jim Ross is doing the commentary for it, and they are interested in apparently in doing a weekly World of Sport. Just some context, for a long, long time, like wrestling was huge, huge, huge in Britain. Like it was on their TV every week, and like they would have big shows at really big venues across the country, as well as smaller venues. And they had huge, huge stars like Big Daddy and Giant Haystack and Kendo Nagasaki. And then in the 80s, by the mid 80s, it kind of collapsed, and British wrestling became this very like obscure, minor, small time thing for like I don't know, 25 years. And it's only been recently with all these younger guys that it started to come on again. And now you have independent promotions like Progress and Rev Pro and Insane Championship Wrestling in Scotland, which is like their big annual show of the year. It draws like 6,000 people. Like it's a big indie. And of course, this year 2016 has largely been a great year for British talent like Zack Sabre Jr., Marty Scurll, and Will Ospreay, all of whom like a year and a half ago were known only outside the UK to like total wrestling nerds, and who have all made big splashes with either Ring of Honor, PWG, New Japan, or in Zack Sabre Jr.'s case, PWG and the WWE Cruiserweight Classic. So this is pretty exciting. We've also talked about how there's been rumors that the WWE was signing a bunch of British wrestlers, and there was speculation that they were just signing people to deals just to keep them off other promotions. But I mean, now it seems like they may be signing people because they plan to put them on TV once a week, which would be fine.
Yeah, I think that's a that that actually makes sense now. That why they were signing all those people that we had never heard of.
Um, but so here's the full list of talent who's going to be competing in the UK Championship tournament for WWE. Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate, who are probably the biggest names. Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight, he's really good. Those three guys are really fantastic. But also Wolfgang, James Drake, Joseph Connors, Sam Gradwell, Tucker, H.C. Dyer, T-Bone, Roy Johnson, Chris Tyler, Jordan Devlin, Tiger Ali, Jack Starr, Saxon Huxley, Ringo Ryan, and Dan Maloney. Names that you don't see there, of course, are Skrull and Ospreay, who are signed with Ring of Honor and New Japan, and Zack Sabre Jr., who is he's kind of freewheeling and fancy free right now. And there's a few other names that I was surprised not to see on there, like Dave Mastiff. But it's possible that they have signed with ITV. I don't know. There's kind of it's weird to say this, but there's like a signing frenzy in British wrestling right now. It's pretty exciting.
There's a lot of British talent that is going to be hitting the scene, I guess.
If this exposes people to more British wrestling, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's going to be a lot of finger bending. I'm going to watch both nights of this tournament. I'm going to be super excited to do it. And it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to this. I think bringing sort of different styles to American audiences is like it's one of the things that's great about the network. They don't have to worry about, cable TV or somebody, or just USA or somebody paying for this. They can just do it on their own. And as we've said, Britain is like a wrestling crazy territory right now. Like they love TNA. There are 6,000 people going to see ICW's big show. Like Progress and Rev Pro are selling out all their shows, and they're selling season tickets like it's the opera or sports or something. It's crazy. Exciting times for British wrestling. I wonder what this means for like Jack Gallagher and Neville.
Well, Neville's on the cruiserweight division now.
Yeah, so it's Gallagher. I wonder if they go back to the British thing. I don't know.
Which one can they do? Can they do both?
Right. There's no I guess the sort of the other than Ospreay, Skrull, and Sabre, the biggest star from that territory is Irish, not British, but is Finn Balor. So maybe he would go. I don't know. We'll see what they do. Sheamus. Wade Barrett's already gone. He's done. But I'm intrigued to see where they go with it, and I'm intrigued to see if this weekly TV show does better than what they've done with the cruiserweights so far, because they have been punting on the cruiserweights.
Yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty lackluster. But the UK thing might be good, unless it's UK only. I mean, that's possible also, I guess.
That's true too. Maybe it's only on TV over there and it's not on the network. That'd be weird. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. But they're investing in a big way in the British market, which I think is smart. So let's talk about some hot takes, because I love to serve up some hot takes.
Everybody loves hot takes, right?
Everybody loves hot takes. As we predicted, now I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I'm jumping a little ahead a bit to talk about Road Line End of the Block, but it's necessary. As we predicted on Sunday at Road Line End of the Block, the New Day lost their tag team championships. And we have said from I don't want to pat ourselves on the back every show, but damn it, we called this months ago. When we read the names of the wrestlers who joined the concussion lawsuit, and we saw that Demolition, Bill Eadie and Barry Darsow were in there, we were like, I wonder if Vince, in his insane pettiness, is going to have the New Day, because they had the belts for a long time at that point. I wonder if he's going to have the New Day break their record and then immediately lose the belts just as a stupid insult to Demolition. And sure enough, the New Day breaks the record in time for last week's Raw, and then they drop the belts in the pay-per-view. However, other people who aren't as clued into Vince's insane psyche as we are were convinced that this was because shortly before the pay-per-view, Big E tweeted out a picture of the New Day and Rich Swann and Sasha Banks all holding their titles and he hashtagged it Black Excellence. And of course, this made some insecure racists upset, as it will. And so there were people who Sunday night and Monday were saying it's because of the Black Excellence tweet that the New Day lost their belts.
That is not true, but
It's not. Sasha also lost her belt. And there were also like people on Twitter who Sunday night were tweeting white excellence. Folks, don't be idiots. So I just want to talk about this because I think it plays into some weird, like, millennials in particular maybe see the world through this sort of very like identity politics lens. So they assume that this is evil racist Vince punishing black people for speaking out. It's really not. First of all, Rich Swann retained his belt, so he did not lose. Second of all, as we'll hear, Vince is not 100% on Sasha. And also they had that dumb thing where Charlotte doesn't lose at pay-per-views.
yeah, I mean they're just trying to keep that up so like they can have the match with Bayley at WrestleMania mean something.
Exactly. They even referred to on Monday night when Charlotte came out, she talked about how she's like the queen of pay-per-view. They're trying to build up they're trying to insta-build an Undertaker-like streak for her so that Bayley can beat at WrestleMania and it'll be meaningful. And then there's the thing with the pettiness of Demolition. I mean, I might be inclined to listen to the whole Vince was mad about the Black Excellence tweet thing if we hadn't predicted this exactly 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where like the Black Excellence tweet has absolutely nothing to do with it because this was predictable like as almost immediately after the Demolition thing came out.
Yeah, seriously. Like this is, I mean, you just go back and listen to the episodes. We said this would happen. It's just weird timing and weird coincidence. So I wrote about that on the blog, closetofanxiety.tumblr.com. And some people got a little like huffy or like, oh, well, what about Sasha? What about, and it's like, look, you got to understand, Vince is an old man. He's like 70 or 71. And he has crazy beliefs that even by old man standards probably put him on the wrong line of the bigotry question. But far more so, Vince is petty.
Exactly. He is I think like jumping to like Vince is horribly racist is neglecting the personality of Vince McMahon, which is much more petty. So like it's not actually based on the race. It's just based on like he wanted somebody to break Demolition's record to get them out of his record book or whatever.
Right.
Because they're suing him. So once that happened, there was no need for the New Day, who have been stale for like at least half a year now, to maintain the championship. It's just like they would have lost probably months ago had this lawsuit not come up and someone had to break Demolition's record.
I agree. And honestly, it's even more insulting to Demolition that the team that breaks your 25-year-old record then loses the belt a week later to a makeshift tag team that's not even going to be together in like 6 weeks. It's like, oh, yeah. Your record was such a big deal. Well, guess what I think of your record? I'm pissing all over it.
That's basically it. That's the kind of thing you'd expect from Vince McMahon, not the
yes.
Because like think of things this way. If Vince McMahon really cared if black people had titles, why would they have like all the titles been held by black people at that point?
Right, exactly.
Like why would they have gotten the titles in the first place? Wouldn't have made any sense. If there was if there was a real like conspiracy going on, like it never would have gotten to that point.
Vince is a guy who named Ted DiBiase's manservant character Virgil because that's the real first name of Dusty Rhodes, who was booking NWA at the time, and Vince was taking a petty shot at Dusty Rhodes. Remember the huckster in the Nacho Man?
Yes.
Like Vince is an absurdly petty human being. I mean, all you have to do is, if you can find it, you just track down and watch a copy of The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. Like, he made a whole documentary film about how mad he was at this guy. The idea that he would carry out this like 470 something day title streak just to have the team lose it, just to be a dick to Demolition. It's the most characteristic thing. Like, it is absolutely who he is. There's no question in my mind that race, like, he didn't care about the black excellence thing. Never came across his mind because he had this in his mind as soon as he saw their names in that lawsuit. He's like, all right, fuck those guys.
That's exactly the personality of Vince McMahon.
Yeah, you gotta. It's far more terrifying than just Vince is a bigot. Believe me.
Uh, I mean, like we had been saying this for 6 months that after the New Day beat the record, they were going to lose the titles. And remember last week on the episode when we did the recap with the like preview for Roadblock, we were wondering why isn't New Day on the matches? They're going to lose here, and
Right.
they didn't have a match, and then like they happened to have one on Roadblock that wasn't on the thing we were looking at for.
Yeah, it got added later in the week for some stupid like title tournament or something.
Yeah, so it got added later in the week, but had it not, we obviously would have predicted that the New Day lost to whoever. Wouldn't have mattered because like after they broke this is like a rule with WWE. After you break the record, you always lose the title really quickly. But this one especially was incredibly predictable. If you remember, just recently there was another very similar situation with the women's title or the Divas title at the time, I guess, because you know, the
AJ
Nikki,
Lee.
yeah, AJ Lee was the former longest, and then Nikki Bella beat that, and then subsequently lost the title like a day later.
Yeah, I mean it's classic um, Vince McMahon thinking, and since Joe and I have endured Vince McMahon's psyche as wrestling fans for over 30 years, we're used to it. This is how Vince thinks. I mean, like the race thing. Vince's bigotry doesn't come out in like him screwing over popular money making tag teams. It more like comes out in like his weird ideas about what characters black wrestlers should play, things like that. It's not so much that he doesn't want them to succeed. It's just like his idea is they can only succeed by being like happy minstrels or jungle savages.
But basically, yeah, it's not the it's not it's not that he is like specifically capping them or taking away their titles because they said they were black and excellent or whatever.
No, he doesn't give a shit about that.
I'm sure,
Vince,
in all honesty, like I'm sure he doesn't. If someone asked him about the Black Excellent tweet, he wouldn't even know what it is.
no, Vince has to be reminded what a hashtag is. I mean, like Vince is a weird dude.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories from people about Vince McMahon. Like Jim Cornette has stories like he was like they used to meet at Vince's house to do the planning for Raw or whatever. And like he'd go there and he was saying like, oh, one time, guy shows up to fix the cable or something, and like Vince is like, yeah, buddy, the TV's in the other room, just check it out. And like the guy goes into the room to fix the cable or whatever, and comes back like a minute later, and he's like, well, sir, you see, this button here is the mute button. If you
Yeah,
press this button, the sound will come back. And Vince McMahon is just like, all right, thanks, buddy. Tips him $100 and sends him on his way. Like this is Vince McMahon. Like he doesn't know how to use a TV. It's that kind of thing. Like you think he's on Twitter checking people's tweets?
there is a story, and I wish I could remember it. It was oh yeah, the Vince McMahon burrito story. Do you remember this?
Um, no, not off the top of my head, but maybe if you remind me, I'll remember.
So this was somebody who used to write for WWE. Dan Madigan was a writer, and he talked about how like Vince is like a really like obsessive. This is the same thing with the cable TV. It's like Vince doesn't know how things work because he's so focused on wrestling and he's so focused on which is a business he hates, and he's so focused on this that like he kind of doesn't know how things are. So this is Dan Madigan. I found it. Dan Madigan on the Pro Wrestling Torch radio show. Uh, so they're writing. All the writers are together. Dan Madigan is a former writer. He says, I think they were going to poison Big Show and give him a spiked burrito. The whole concept was we're going to spike his food, spike the burrito. You cut to a vignette before that showing him eating it, and he passes out in the ring. So Vince goes, burrito? Who the hell knows what a burrito is? It was such a fun concept for him. And everyone in the room goes, well, we know what a burrito is. And Vince goes, well, where the hell have I been? I don't know what a burrito is. And Madigan goes on. But the funny thing is, every day at noon, Vince's secretary would walk into the office, the writing room, with a burrito. It was a steak wrap cut in half, and Vince would eat it. Every day he was eating a burrito and not knowing what it was.
That's amazing.
Like, that's Vince McMahon. The idea that he's like on Twitter and someone's like, are you upset about this hashtag? He would need someone to explain hashtag in Twitter to him. He'd kind of know what Twitter was because it's like a metric in their annual report and stuff. But like he'd be like, wait, Big E he's a tag? What did he tag? Did he take a tag off something? While he's eating his burrito, he doesn't know what it is. The idea that Vince is mad about Black Excellence is giving Vince way too much credit. The whole thing with New Day is Vince was mad at Demolition because they joined a lawsuit against him. And he's like, these are the guys who are in my record books, and these are the guys who are still working the indie circuit, talking about they're the longest-running tag team champions in WWF history. Fuck you. Guess who the new champions are? And guess what? A week later, they're not even going to be the champions anymore.
That's it.
That's it. So speaking of Vince McMahon and Sasha, so people were like, hey, when I posted the thing about the New Day, they were like, well, what about Sasha? Clearly Vince is a racist because Sasha lost her title. Over on Cage Side Seats, they have some backstage scuttlebutt. Apparently, the story is Vince is not big on Sasha for a variety of reasons, which they don't spell out. But Vince thinks Bayley is more over as a babyface, and he thinks the real money feud is between Charlotte and Bayley. So, you know, I know Sasha's actually had injury issues, and you know, I like Sasha, but I will give Vince this: like, Sasha's not great in the microphone, and I don't think she's established herself yet in the way that you know, like a really like top performer has.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
I
She's
don't think she really has either, but
oh yeah, I
like
don't either, but you know.
internet nerds were so upset about this, but like it's not totally unreasonable. It's not like you know, if Vince wasn't sold on AJ Styles or someone like that, like then I would be upset. But it's someone who's kind of been hit or miss and has had some real bright spots since coming up to the main roster, but also some real rough spots. So I'm not totally down on Vince for thinking that Bayley versus Charlotte is the first tier feud. I guess the question is just what kind of matches can they have, because Bayley has not looked all that fantastic since coming up either.
Yeah, that's true. It's I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I just think like they see Bayley as like the next John Cena for women.
Yeah, right.
And like it makes sense because to have her against the heel because you know Sasha is a face right now. Like, do you want the person you see as your next like female John Cena up in the WrestleMania position, or do you want the person that you're not so hot on who might be injured?
Exactly. And yeah, so I mean, it makes sense to me. And Bayley really does have a good kind of potential for that kind of connection, especially with younger fans that John Cena has. She's like a sort of a pure babyface character, and that makes sense to me that Vince sees that and thinks that would be big at WrestleMania, especially in a match where it's not so much the title that's on the line, it's the you know, Charlotte's never lost in a pay-per-view before. So I guess I could see that, and it looks like Sasha will be feuding with Nia Jax, and you know, maybe somebody can get a good match out of Nia Jax. That would be impressive.
Well, Asuka had a pretty good match with Nia Jax.
That's a good point. I'm just waiting for when they're going to bring Asuka up, and I'm nervous because I don't know what they're going to do with her. I mean, there's a real there is a real divide between NXT and the main roster. Not so stark in SmackDown. in Raw, it's much more stark.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll bring Asuka up to SmackDown.
That would be great. I'd like to see Asuka and Becky Lynch mix it up.
It would make that would actually make sense because then, like at one of the crossover pay-per-views, you could have the Asuka versus Charlotte or whoever.
Or Bailey, they could rekindle their feud. They had a good feud in NXT.
That's true.
Um, Speaking of women in WWE, congratulations to Andrea from Shine, big powerhouse in Shine. She is signed to WWE. She lost the loser leaves Shine match last Friday, and a few hours after that, it was revealed that she is signed with WWE and will be reporting the Performance Center alongside Kimberly and Heidi Lovelace. So good for you, Andrea. She's good. She's kind of like what I think they want Nia Jax to be, in that she's big and she's really strong and throws people around. But unlike Nia Jax, Andrea is also like really mobile and agile and can like do a lot of wrestling moves. So as always, it's a crapshoot whether or not characters will catch on in NXT and do well. But it's a good signing. I'm happy for that. I'll be sad to see Andrea go because I think she was just coming into her own in Shine, but she's got a bigger stage now. Speaking of, well, maybe not as big a stage. I don't know. Big Mike, Michael Elgin.
Big Mike.
He's one of the wrestlers we're never sure if we like or not. We like him in New Japan. We don't like him in Ring of Honor. But now, I guess the question is going to be a lot less ambiguous because he's done with Ring of Honor. He's done. No more Big Mike. No more Michael Elgin in Ring of Honor.
That's well, I mean, I guess it's not a huge surprise because he technically left Ring of Honor 2 years ago to join New Japan full time. So like he's been in Ring of Honor, he's been showing up in Ring of Honor, but only because like on a exchange contract with New Japan. So he's actually signed to New Japan already. He has been for like 2 years, I think. So it's not a huge thing. It's just kind of like he doesn't like Ring of Honor anymore. Doesn't think they use talent correctly, so he's just not gonna do their crossover promoting anymore.
According to our friends at Pro Wrestling Sheet, Big Mike says he was unhappy about lack of communication and focus on fresh talent. I don't know the communication issues, but boy, I agree that Ring of Honor could do a better job focusing on new wrestlers. That's for sure.
That is absolutely true. They should actually do that.
But as you mentioned, he's currently in the midst of a 2-year deal with New Japan, and he has his own federation in Illinois called Glory Pro Wrestling. So it's not like Big Mike is out of work. Our last news item this week is this is just a minor thing, but I'm always interested when mainstream journalism or mainstream people, mainstream pop culture pays attention to wrestling, and it's happening more and more. Like ESPN has its own wrestling vertical. They just had a great article on Leo Rush. Speaking of a new talent who's being misused by Ring of Honor. And Vice is doing a lot of really good reporting on wrestling. They had a great article on the Young Bucks recently, and they had a great article on WWE's weird business culture, which we talked about last week, I think. So the latest entrant into this is Paste Magazine, which you may remember as an indie music magazine. It's been around for about, 15 or 16 years. And to kind of show you how far this stuff is going, it's not just things like What Culture and The Onion and Rolling Stone and Sports Illustrated regularly making time for wrestling. Paste, which has become this kind of hipster, millennial-focused lifestyle branding platform, has now launched a wrestling vertical edited by someone named Garrett Martin. And so, I don't know. I think it's good. Frankly, I think it's good news that upscale-ish media outlets are paying attention to wrestling. I think it can only help wrestling. I mean, I am leery about, MFA people from Sarah Lawrence getting really into wrestling, but at the same time, that's going to help.
They're going to ruin your wrestling shows, Tom.
It's going to help because you want people with disposable income who are interested in it. That's what's really going to help wrestling.
It's true. If you can get that hipster crowd in there, they're they've got the disposable income.
And that's the thing. Like that's how like streaming shows are able to sustain when they have like audiences that are a fraction of the size of network shows because those audiences may be small, but they're really desirable to advertisers. That's how Major League Soccer has a bigger advertising deal than the WWE, even though they have a much smaller audience. Um, all right, so let's get into a couple quick recaps. Roadline, end of the block, last WWE show of the year. What did you think?
It was okay.
Yeah,
I,
I think
I,
we
yeah, I think we 100% predicted every match though.
I think you're right. I think the only thing we got wrong was we thought there would be a Ric Flair interference in Charlotte's match, and there was none.
Yeah, but we did predict the winner.
We did predict the winner. Um, I think we predicted the show would be a solid C, and it was, in fact, a solid C. Um, I guess the best match for me, the two best matches of the night, I loved the tag team match, Cesaro and Sheamus versus the New Day. That match was a lot of fun. I mean, we had predicted the result because we said the New Day was just going to drop the belts, but they really like the story they told where it was the New Day. They were sort of desperate to keep their title reign going, and you had these two guys who are finally gelling as a team and desperate for a big win. I thought that it worked really well, and there was a lot of fun stuff in that match. These guys are breaking out all kinds of offense that you don't normally see them do, which is always exciting. And this is the kind of thing you should save for a pay per view to make that match feel a little more special. Um, so I loved it. I thought that was a great start to the show. Um, and I also liked Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman. It was a weird stipulation. Like it wasn't
Oh yeah, okay. I guess we didn't predict that one correctly because we didn't know that if Sami Zayn just lasted 10 minutes, he won.
right. That's the thing. We thought Strowman would win, and nobody. I mean, Sami Zayn technically won, but nobody got the pin or submission or anything. The stipulation was Sami Zayn had to stay, just basically not lose for 10 minutes, and he would win. And honestly, I think that was good because it gives Zayn a little bit of a push, and it sort of rewards the kind of courageous babyface thing he's been doing. At the same time, it doesn't make Strowman look bad at all. Like Strowman didn't lose the match. He didn't get pinned. He didn't tap out. He just couldn't like kill this guy for 10 minutes. And part of that was because Mick Foley showed up and dressed like in his fascist hobo garb, and almost threw in the towel. So, and also it set up this neat thing where Strowman is now on a rampage, just beating up everyone left and right and destroying Christmas as he did on Raw. So I liked that. That was pretty good. And I liked the Charlotte Sasha match. It wasn't. I thought it was what it was. It was a 30-minute Iron Man match that went to overtime. Um, and it started off kind of clunky, but I thought like from a technical wrestling perspective, it's one of their better matches. It didn't have any like the insane sort of reckless can you top this spots that they've done before, but like everything was pretty smooth, except for a few spots. I thought as a wrestling match it worked really well, and then it was sort of genuinely at the end as the seconds are ticking away and Sasha is ahead 2-1, and then Charlotte gets in the figure four and you're wondering is she gonna tap out or something. And so it was actually sort of suspenseful in that sense. I like that match, and then everything else was sort of eh.
Yeah, I mean the the Kevin Owens Roman Reigns thing ended with that weird finish with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the second half of that match was okay. The first half just bored me. I like both those guys a lot. I like Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, but the first half of the match didn't do anything for me. I thought they were treading water, and I've seen them both work better matches recently. And I got to tell you that the Rollins Jericho, I think Jericho is doing some of the best work of his career lately. But Rollins, like, I don't know what it is. Ever since he's come back from his injury, like, I am not interested in the guy at all.
Yeah, he's kind of lost a bit of his like the I think a lot of it has to do with like they brought him back as a heel, and they haven't done anything to really make him earn being a face. So it's
Yes.
you kind of look at him and you think like, well, okay, um, yeah, I guess that's cool, but it doesn't really, like there's nothing really keeping you rooting for him or anything. So it's the kind of thing where it's just like he hasn't done anything spectacular enough to make it interesting.
I agree. I think that's a 100% solid analysis. I mean, they're telling us that he should get the face reaction, but he never had that big like cataclysmic break with the authority or whatever. He never had that moment where it was like, no, I'm going to be good from now on. Like, we never got that payoff. So it's just kind of like, well, why am I cheering for you now? You're still the same dick you were before.
Yeah, except you're just fighting people who we also think is a dick. That he hasn't
Right.
done anything to change that kind of perception. So like, had they brought him back and just let the people cheer for him like they wanted to initially, like it probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah, if they had brought him back as a straight face, which is what they should have done, that would have made this a lot easier. But instead, now he just seems kind of chaotic neutral. That's the hardest alignment to be.
Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to mention about Line Road Block of the End or whatever was uh they actually tried to do something with the cruiserweights, which was I'll have to give them credit for. Instead of
Yes.
just
What
being
is that
bland,
about?
they had uh they had Neville come out and destroy people and actually have a story. So they actually have somebody who's a heel now.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. The match was pretty boring and the crowd didn't care. And then when Neville came out, people actually sort of paid attention. And I like Neville as like the angry chip on his shoulder guy.
Yeah, it should be good because what I was talking about earlier, wanted to mention earlier during the when we were talking about Raw was that Neville came out on Raw and sort of teamed up with Brian Kendrick, who is the only other person with a personality in the cruiser weight division. So they have like people who are solidly heels now that we can tell have some kind of character going on. So now like it leaves it to other people to come out and do stuff. Um, Cedric Alexander has like turned back into Cedric Alexander from Ring of Honor for some reason.
I know. I don't.
um,
Oh,
it's like the same character. Now he's just got a different girl with him.
right. And who? Yeah, and he's feuding with Noam Dar over it. Like, give me a break. Um, but yeah, I liked Neville. I think he really he can juice that division up. I mean, they got to try something, and I'll give them credit. They are trying something. So like, I'm gonna I want the cruiserweight thing to succeed. So I'm gonna pull for whatever they do, and I think this actually could help.
Yeah, it should be good. I hope so at least. I hope this means it's the start of something that might be okay.
That's as optimistic as we get about WWE these days.
Basically.
It might be okay. It might. Um, the other thing we did, we watched on Saturday night, well, Sunday morning for you, Saturday night for me. We watched House of Hardcore 23. That's appropriate, 23. Um, and I like talking about this because I don't think everyone watches. I don't think House of Hardcore, the Flow Slam offerings are as well watched as WWE. So I think it's kind of fun to to give people a little flavor of what happened in House of Hardcore. House of Hardcore is um, John Cena's, or not John Cena. My God,
John
Tommy Dreamer.
Cena. Tommy Dreamer, John Cena, same thing.
Same thing. He was kind of the John Cena of ECW. Tommy Dreamer's promotion, and uh, we had watched something they did earlier this month, I think, in Wisconsin. It was a big show, a lot of people. This one came to you from the Maryland Championship Wrestling Arena in beautiful Joppa, Maryland. Not as big a show, pretty small crowd, which they kept blaming on the inclement weather. Although we were looking at weather reports, it didn't seem that inclement to me. It wasn't. I mean, like it had snowed in the morning, but the show started at 7 or whatever.
Yeah, we were like trying to figure out what the inclement weather was. Like it's horribly snowing outside, and it was just like clear and cold. So I guess like any type of snow on the ground was remaining, so people don't come out in Maryland. I don't know.
Whatever the reason, it we should also say that on the night before they had a big show in Philadelphia at the old ECW arena that was well attended and featured a cage match with Broken Matt Hardy. This did not have a cage match. The first match was Jessica Havoc versus Taya Valkyrie. I missed it because I thought the start time was later than it was. I did tune in time to watch Eddie Kingston defeat Lance Anoa'i, and it was all right. It was okay. I like Eddie Kingston, but it wasn't that much. But the first match we watched in its entirety was, and this is one of those things where it's like throughout the night we kept saying to ourselves, "Why are we doing this?" This was it was a 6-man tag. It was Matt Stryker, the hoverboard hustler Connor Braxton. Again, that's the guy whose gimmick is that he rides a hoverboard. And this show, by the way, he couldn't even ride it. He kept falling off the hoverboard.
Yeah, it was true. Every time he'd get on it, it like wouldn't go forward, and he'd just lean forward and then just fall off. It
Like
was
your gimmick is that you ride a hoverboard and you can't even ride the hoverboard. Um, and Kikutaro, who is sort of maybe a Chikara guy, if not, should be a Chikara guy.
I think he's a DDT guy actually,
Might
but
be
he's like just touring in the U.S.
he does slow motion stuff. That's like his thing, slow motion comedy. They wrestled Vic Delicious, Benjamin Boone, and Hale Collins. I've heard of Vic Delicious because he's in a tag team that I've seen a couple times in Connecticut. But otherwise, it was just like three generic heel type guys. This was this was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life.
It was pretty bad.
We try to be positive here, but it was just, it was there was. I mean, I like comedy from time to time, but this thing was just. I think that the tone was set by the fact that the hoverboard hustler couldn't get the hoverboard to work in the beginning. Then it was like, this is going downhill. This is not going to work. Um, but then the next match was Moose and Brian Cage, and we were like, well, this is going to be good because it's like a big hoss fight. These two giant guys, and it was honestly it was all right. But I thought in my mind, I'm going to watch Brian Cage and Moose. It's going to be fucking crazy because it's these two huge men who are really agile. And it was all right, but it wasn't like there was no point during that match where you and I were like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near as good as we were expecting it to be.
Brian Cage and Keith Lee wrestled earlier this year in Beyond Wrestling, I think in American Rana, and that was amazing. It was the same kind of thing, two huge guys, but it was just this one. I don't know whether it was they didn't quite have chemistry or they understandably didn't want to like go all out in front of a small crowd in Joppa, Maryland, because both these guys are they have TV deals elsewhere. Whatever it was sort of a average match. And then there was a 4-way between Dan Barry, Sanjay Dutt, Brandon Scott, and Alex Reynolds. I had seen the night before Alex Reynolds lose in a minute to the Brooklyn Brawler. I mean,
Yes.
I mean,
What do you do with that, right?
speaking of which, the next match was so it was the Tommy Dreamer. First, he brought out Nikolai Volkov.
He brought out Nikolai Volkov, and they were fighting the Spirit Squad.
That's right.
But they came out, and Nikolai Volkov beat the Spirit Squad, but he wasn't the official partner, or
So
something. So it didn't count. So the Brooklyn Brawler came out, and the Brooklyn Brawler also beat the Spirit Squad, but he was also not the official tag team partner. So it didn't count. And then Tommy Dreamer was fighting the Spirit Squad alone while his real partner, showed up and walked through a crowd for 20 minutes with beer. The Sandman.
I
If this
mean,
sound it, like if this sounds ridiculous, me saying it, this. imagine watching it because it took forever. It was
It was
not.
a long match.
It was not a. It was ridiculous, but in extra slow motion, so not as fun as my
No,
explanation of it. So like it sounds like because saying that you might think like, well, that sounds kind of fun, but it wasn't fun because like it took so long for all of that stuff to happen, and then the actual wrestling part of it was terrible.
it was watching Nikolai Volkov, who, I mean, God bless him, he's still on his feet. But I remember this guy from when we were little kids,
Yep.
and I see that he's only 69, which is terrifying. I thought he would have been older, but he came out and he sang "God Bless America."
It was
Remember
the Nikolai Volkov face turn.
it's the Nikolai Volkov face turn. This is one of those things that makes me say that House of Hardcore is low key the weirdest promotion in the United States.
It was really weird.
Because they'll have like up and coming indie people, and they'll have like, as we'll get to the next match, they have like real stars from other promotions like AAA, and then they'll bring in like Nikolai Volkov and the Brooklyn Brawler and the Sandman doing the same thing he was doing 20 years ago in ECW, and like it's just so weird. The Tommy Dreamer thing with the Spirit Squad, legitimately terrible match. It pains me to say that because I like Tommy Dreamer. Hell, I like the Spirit Squad, but God Almighty, it so, every minute felt like an hour. It was horrible. And then the main event was Phoenix from AAA, who for some reason was billed as Ray Phoenix, against Johnny Mundo, who is billed as John Hennigan. Probably, I'm guessing in both reasons it was because Lucha Underground owns the rights to the names Phoenix and Johnny Mundo. I don't know, but this was it was a good match. As Tape Machines Are Rolling said, Johnny Mundo benefits probably more than anyone except Sexy Star from Lucha Underground's editing, because it's a different type of wrestling show. Like they're not just setting up cameras and recording a wrestling match. Like they do a lot of post production and editing. So he's not, he's athletic and he can do a lot of stuff, but the Johnny Mundo you see on Lucha Underground is not necessarily the John Hennigan you see in House of Hardcore in Joppa, Maryland. But Phoenix is still really good, so he can carry Hennigan, and Phoenix won the match. But it was just I'm glad that Flow Slam is working with House of Hardcore, and they also announced they're going to be doing Over the Top Wrestling, which is an Irish promotion that's getting a lot of attention right now. That's very exciting. I like seeing different wrestling. I like being able to watch different promotions from around the country and around the world and seeing what people are doing. But I don't know. We were talking about which show we should watch this weekend. Shine on Friday or House of Hardcore, and we went with House of Hardcore, and maybe we should have watched Shine. Shine had a match in which live crickets were used as a weapon. That's all I'm saying.
I should have watched that, but I was busy that day, so I couldn't. So it ended up being House of Hardcore just because I was busy.
I mean, it was, sometimes it's fun to watch something that's a disaster because you can make jokes about it. But a couple hours into a disaster, and you start to say to yourself, "What the fuck am I doing with my life?"
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good show, but it was weird.
It was, and we'll come away with stories of seeing the hoverboard hustler fail to operate a hoverboard, and Nikolai Volkov sing "God Bless America." So what's coming up? What do we have coming up in the future? Next week, I think we'll probably do a recap type thing. Best of 2016 and a look forward. We did this last year at the end of the year, and I remember one of the things we said was not going to happen was Nakamura was not going to come to WWE. So
We were wrong.
so hopefully our forecast for 2017. I also said it was going to be a big year for Matt Taven, who got hurt in January and was out for most of the year.
I believe you referred to 2016 as the year of Taven.
I did call it the year of Taven. That's correct.
We have not heard anything from Matt Taven this year.
I'm happy to report Matt Taven is back and is wrestling again, but He was seriously out for like 10 months.
He was out for like so like if anybody is a wrestler, hope that Tom doesn't claim that 2017 is your year.
That's right. Yeah, and if we say affirmatively you are not going to WWE, congratulations on your WWE contract. So we'll probably do that next week. But in the meantime, is there anything coming up that you're excited about?
Um, Wrestle Kingdom is soon, right?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because New Japan tweeted out a picture of Kota Ibushi pointing at a poster of Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega is scheduled to wrestle Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, but pretty intriguing that New Japan might be teasing something with Ibushi. That would be cool.
That'll be good. More Ibushi. Ibushi is everywhere though. He'll come back to do stuff.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he's the hottest free agent in the game. Uh, but yeah, Wrestle Kingdom is going to be good. Um,
That's in like a week and a half though. We can actually talk. We can actually we should do a Wrestle Kingdom preview next week.
we'll do a Wrestle Kingdom preview, folks. We're talking about all the 6-man and 8-man tag team matches you can expect at Wrestle Kingdom.
Uh, oh man, I wonder how many there'll be. I'm trying to think about it because like they try to just put everybody on for Wrestle Kingdom, but like the thing with it is that they also have to have all the titles defended. So like there will be a lot of singles matches for titles. So like I imagine that there's just going to be a gigantic 12-man tags like at least twice.
It's also traditionally one of the shows of the year that Mao is definitely guaranteed to appear in. Not Chairman Mao, but Mao, who's the valet who kind of brings nothing to the table. And for that reason, I love Mao. I also love that whenever she's not on a big New Japan show, she spends the whole show tweeting out angry complaints of her fans that she's not on the show.
Awesome.
So we can look forward to Mao being on Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, we'll do a Wrestle Kingdom preview. Why not? That's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Now I mean like when we look at these matches, like you're almost positive to get like a match that's going to be like a at least 4.5 stars, almost
Yeah,
always out of Wrestle Kingdom.
that's
So
true.
like it's the kind of thing where Wrestle Kingdom, if you're a fan of wrestling, is a it's a kind of must watch. Um, so if you're if you're a person who usually buys wrestling pay-per-views, feel free to spend the like $8 or whatever it is to subscribe to the New Japan Network for just a month or whatever, so you can get Wrestle Kingdom. It's
It's
totally
worth it.
worth it. Um, you know, the downside to the New Japan streaming service is that like they don't have a lot of old stuff up, and the farther you go back, the less they have. So I was like looking for. I remember like looking through their stuff, and I'm like looking for. Oh, like I want to see all the Hogan matches versus Antonio Inoki, but like you can't see them. They're not up. There's like one up, but not like the big the big series or anything. There's like Andre the Giant matches up, but like one or two, and you'd figure that you'd figure they'd have a ton of those, but there's not actually that many up. So, but like even worse than that, there's like not even like the regular New Japan dudes up. So like if you're just like I really want to see Ricky Choshu destroying people or whatever, you can't. There's not that much stuff up unless they added more stuff since the last time I looked. But when I had looked previously, there was not that much stuff.
That is kind of a bummer. I would like to see more of that stuff.
But they have all the new stuff still up and ready to go. So if you want to watch other Wrestle Kingdoms, you can do that.
And it is even if you're not interested in that, if you just want to see Wrestle Kingdom, it's worth $8 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's worth it. Just $8 for Wrestle Kingdom is totally worth it.
Um, yeah, Wrestle Kingdom's gonna be good. We'll preview Wrestle Kingdom because otherwise there's not a whole lot coming up between now and
It's
Royal Rumble.
Christmas, end of the year. Nothing's
Yeah,
really gonna happen. There's like a Raw after the day after Christmas.
Boxing Day Raw.
It's gonna be
Uh, Although, oh my God, so the same day after Christmas, SmackDown is doing a house show at Madison Square Garden, and the card is amazing. There's like a cage match between The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, and there's John Cena, AJ Styles, and Dean Ambrose three-way for the championship. And like again, it's a house show, so nothing's going to change hands. But like some guy on Twitter who I follow who lives in New York was like, should I go to the Raw after Christmas or should I go to the SmackDown show? And he posted both cards, and everyone's like, go to them. There's an NXT people who are going to be at the Madison Square Garden show. It's like, go to the fucking SmackDown show, buddy. It's cheaper too.
It's cheaper. The matches will be better. You don't have to like sit with a billion people screaming with their signs, hoping to be on TV for Raw.
Yeah, and you'll probably get home earlier too.
And you can go to Madison Square Garden, which is like the spiritual home of WWE.
Yeah, seeing a show in I've never seen a wrestling show in Madison Square Garden, but it's one of the hallowed arenas in wrestling history, along with like Tokyo Dome and Arena Mexico and the Empress Ballroom. Like it's definitely worth the late great Sportatorium, which of course is no more. Marigold Gardens, which is no more, but it's worth it. So end of the year, not a whole lot going on, but there's a Beyond Wrestling show at the end of this month I'm not going to go to. It's a Thursday night, and I got to work Thursday and Friday, so no. Also, I'm broke. And then of course, Royal Rumble in January, which starts the build towards WrestleMania.
Royal Rumble, woo!
I'm going to see if there's anything in terms of scheduling on the old Flow Slam.
I wonder how. Like the only thing that's fun about WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, but Royal Rumble is for me is like who is going to show up in the Rumble.
Yes.
And like it's always disappointing when there's not enough people who are just like weird add-ins to the Rumble that shouldn't be there. The gobbledygooker shows up or something.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want at least like out of the 30 people, I want like 10 people who shouldn't be there. At least a third of the competitors should not be there. And I want one of the competitors who shouldn't be there to do really well.
Yeah, like, something like that.
You're like, oh, Sergeant Slaughter is eliminating people left and right. Sergeant Slaughter could win this damn thing.
Yeah, they should do that. Like just bring somebody in who shouldn't be there and have them totally do really well. Although I guess that would mean like, but it's not going to be like that this year because I'm sure they're going to have people who don't belong there just so they can up the amount of people Goldberg and Brock Lesnar eliminate.
Yeah, that's true too. It's in Texas, so there could be some, some Texas wrestling connections. I'm trying to think of who. Shawn Michaels. That'd be awesome. They're in Hawaii, or the remaining Von Erich is in Hawaii. I don't think Shawn Michaels will be in the Royal Rumble. He might show up and do something like an MC, but I don't think he's going to be in the Rumble.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But yeah, they might do something. When they're in Philly, they had ECW people and that kind of thing. So, I don't know. We'll see.
They should have Nakamura show up. Lay waste to everybody.
The best thing they did last year, we'll do our halfway through the Heat year-end awards, I guess, next week too, as we did last year. But I think not to give away our next show, but I think honestly, in terms of like the best year in WWE, like AJ Styles.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because he debuted. Remember, that was awesome when he debuted at the Rumble back in January, and he like against all odds, they have gone on to use him exactly right.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's actually makes me not want to say anything just in case.
I know. Yeah, in case like there's a vibration that Vince picks up, and he's like, you know what? We should change his character up, and he's going to be a pancake salesman. Yeah.
That's horribly likely.
It's horribly likely. But yeah, so another debut like Samoa Joe or Nakamura would be very welcome. Samoa Joe may be more likely because he doesn't have the belt in NXT. But we'll see. I'm looking at Flow Slam's schedule, and They got tomorrow night WXW, and that's Germany, 16th anniversary show, and then Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Thursday morning, the IPW UK Super Show. I might, I'll be at work. I might actually just bring my laptop and kind of like surreptitiously have that on.
Might as well. I mean,
Might as well. And they're going to be doing two over the top wrestling shows. December 28th, which is a I don't know what day of the week. That's a Friday. December 28th is Friday night, and that's OTT Dream Before Christmas. It's in Dublin, I think. And then Saturday night they're doing Belfast Invasion. Well, you want to be careful with that language when you're doing shows in Belfast.
you probably want to hold off on the kind of invasion type of talk in Belfast.
You might want to. You might want to. But I'll catch. I'm sure one of those, just because I like.
Well, I'm off from work from the 28th. I can watch any of those.
Bang. We're gonna watch a little OTT. That's something we'll do.
Yeah. Well, the 20. Oh yeah, okay. And we can do that.
Looks like oh wow, it looks like Marty Scurll and Ricochet are going to be there.
All right. That's good.
Um, Hornswoggle,
Hornswoggle's showing up everywhere.
um, a whole bunch of Irish wrestlers who I don't really know. But all right, I like that. I like it. Um, all right, so anyway, that's what we got coming up. Uh, and as always, you can find us on the Twitter machine. I'm at TJ Breen. Joe is at XCornMuffinX. We usually live tweet whatever wrestling stuff we watch, and there's other wrestling content. I just tweeted a picture of Adrian Street today. Why not? But for the real deal wrestling content, closetofanxiety.tumblr.com, hakushinjoe.tumblr.com. If you go to Closet of Anxiety, you'll see an old NWA card from, it looks like the 60s or maybe very early 70s. You'll see pictures of Sue Young and Vanessa Craven, the original Sheik throwing a fireball at Jerry Lawler, X-Pac dressed up like Captain Kirk from Star Trek, Bray Wyatt on some kind of weird talk show, Sue Young spitting the red mist at Heidi Lovelace. There's a lot of good wrestling content, folks. The best wrestling content of all, though, that's in our book, Three Moves of Doom. We've talked about it. The link is here on the YouTube page. We won't belabor the point, but if you buy the book, we'll love you. If you buy the book and review it on Amazon, we'll not only love you, we will make a sacred pledge to be together forever.
And you're in our gang.
And you're in our gang. Yeah, if you buy the book, you're an affiliate member of the gang. If you buy the book and review it for Amazon, you are in the gang for life. You're jumped in. That's how you get into the gang. Don't you want to be in the gang? It's pretty great. So I think that's it, unless you have anything you want to add.
I have nothing.
All right. Thank you for listening. Come back next week. We'll be doing year-end wrap-up. We'll be doing year-end awards. We'll be making bad predictions about 2017, and we'll be previewing Wrestle Kingdom. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys next time.